Watched, or when they watched, they saw 26 students come in on a daily basis,
An average of 26.
on average, but yet you found 239 attended. Can you explain that?
Yeah, high absenteeism. So
You found record.
what we're talking about is whether we found any records. So if a kid is only showing up once every 25 days, they will have a record, and they're going to be in the actual attendance. As opposed to these folks, they had zero, nada, nothing. So that's the distinction.
And when you actually watched, you physically saw, or they physically saw about, on average, 26.
Right. And anecdotally, what we got from the staff was about 30 kids a day were actually there. Now, not the same 30 kids. Okay, so they're in and out. And we know that absenteeism is a difficult problem, both in public schools and in community schools, in highly mobile environments. And that this certainly verifies that.
What are the prospects for getting this money back?
Well, that remains to be seen. Obviously, I don't get to file a lawsuit. That's up to the county prosecutor, the attorney general, and consequently, I don't know what assets they may have out there. They could be levied.
This school is already closed, you said?
This school did not open in 2015.
Anything in the pending charter school reform legislation that would help catch this kind of thing earlier, or anything that you think needs to be added to that to address this kind of situation?
Well, this is fraud, and at the end of the day, you can't pass a law that says there will be no more fraud. You just say don't commit fraud, but then you have to catch the people, because there's always going to be people who try to commit fraud in any context, whether you're talking about bank robberies or pharmacy or cheating on tests in a public school. Recently, and I don't recall the precise session, some of these state house reporters might remember better than I, but in the last year or two, the General Assembly passed the charter sponsor ranking law, and we saw the first results of this. I think that reform is going to have a substantial impact, because what it says is that you're going to be graded on how well you perform your oversight function. And as we can see here, once Kid Counts Dayton started to actually do the sorts of things that we would expect them to do, they were able to see what was going on. I'm hopeful that as we have an environment where most sponsors are exemplary sponsors, these sort of things will be nipped in the bud. And of course, one of the things that's true is if people think you're watching, they're less likely to try to get away with something.
I think all the charter reform language has been stripped out of the budget at this point. We have this separate legislation. I mean, do you have concerns that lawmakers aren't acting quickly enough on this whole issue?
Well, the House has already passed House Bill 2, which is a good step in the right direction, a strong step. Senate Bill 148 has been amended, and it's my understanding that that will likely see Senate action before the legislature goes home. So I think they've worked very hard on this in the last 6 months, and I'm confident that we will see a strong piece of legislation come out of the General Assembly. However, this illustrates the need for Ohio's rigged system of oversight to be reformed, to be overhauled. The fact of the matter is we've got some great schools operating in the community school environment, and even some of the schools that are not ranked very well nonetheless have students that are thriving in that environment with that option. And I think that's true as well with traditional public schools. We hear about horrible schools, and yet there are kids in those schools that thrive in that environment and do well. So this is really about having a recognition that the community school movement contributes tremendously to the educational environment in Ohio, and we need to clean up the bad players that are giving the entire industry that name.
Do you have any indication, I mean, since you released your earlier audit about attendance issues, that some of those issues are being resolved, or charters are being more diligent about their student counts and what they're reporting to the state? Have you, I mean, in subsequent audits or anything, have you seen any change in that type of behavior?
We've not done any follow-up audits, although we will do a follow-up audit. Remember, that was last school year, so our typical methodology would be to follow up in the next year or in 2 years. With the environment changing, I don't think that I think it's too early to be able to say whether anything's changed. However, anecdotally, I met today with a charter sponsor, an exemplary sponsor, who had one of the schools that we had questions about last fall, and they told me about the steps that they had taken. That they were, concerned and had moved very quickly to shore up their practice in that area. So I think that at least anecdotally, what I'm hearing is that there are changes already happening that weren't required by law, that are just being done by people who want to continue to get better. Anything else?
You said that this is going to be turned over to the county prosecutor. What types of charges might be contemplated for this kind of?
Well, that'll be up to the prosecutor there. Certainly, we saw tampering with records here in Franklin County as part of the public schools attendance issue, and that would be available. There may be other charges, but I'll leave that to the prosecutor to decide. Thank you all for coming.